Hey, how are you?
Good. Things are really good.
Good. Thanks for everyone who's sticking with us. I know we missed a few shows last week. I was sick. My voice is still kind of shot, but I couldn't talk actually, so that wasn't even an option. But we're back. Probably gonna keep the show relatively short today
Cool. Yeah.
though. How are
Um,
you?
I'm good. I'm good. Things are really good. Had a great weekend. I can't believe how the weather in Chicago. It's
Lovely,
been
isn't it?
the greatest fall I can remember for a long, long time.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's been
Um,
fantastic. Like, and for those who aren't here, like low 60s, even up to the 70s in November is awesome.
yeah.
So.
I mean, at this time of year, for a lot of falls, we've had like snow already at this point. But like, we went out in jackets, I think, on Sunday, and we were in like just shirts by the middle of the day. It was so nice outside.
Yeah, it really was great. Cool. So hey, let's talk about some stuff. As long as I know along my life, my voice is gonna hold out. So we talked about discussing like uh, special. It's almost like special requests slash favors slash exceptions that you can make for specific customers. Excuse me. And you were curious about our policy for that and how we handle that and that kind of stuff. Is that roughly
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. I mean, when we, so even more, a little more background. When we took over High Rise, we, immediately, just it was just me for the
Yeah.
first couple days or whatever. When I took over High Rise, I was immediately inundated with support requests. People wanted stuff to happen, and it was like, oh my God, it was kind of like crushing. It was a little overwhelming. And eventually, I brought on some more people, brought on someone to do customer support, but, head customer support, but, and he's really stepped up and done a really great job, but he's also not a developer. So his skills at like, doing favors for things that the app can't do can only go so far.
Yeah.
And so again,
Let's clarify what that means. Like, can you give me an example of what that might mean?
so it can be from anything from, there's a lot of bulk abilities that people want in the tool that we don't have. Say they want to bulk move a bunch of tasks from one person to another person. Maybe someone in their organization leaves and they want to reassign these things, or bulk delete something. We've even had situations where they hooked up to a third-party tool that like just created a bunch of content in their account that they didn't expect, and now they want to clean that up. And so it varies from, okay, we're going to help you do something that the tool doesn't do, and it hasn't ever been built to do, and maybe we will, maybe we won't do it, to like, oh my gosh, your account's gotten kind of jacked up because of something either you did accidentally, or a third-party integration did kind of accidentally or inappropriately. So it ranges this gamut of problems that people ask us to kind of step in and help with. And so that's a little bit more about those tasks.
Yeah, so we get those obviously too, and we get a lot of them for a variety of different things. And um, for a long time, we sort of could we've so the policy generally is, so there's a store in the Chicago suburbs called Apt Electronics, and they have a wonderful sign up um, in that store. I'm not sure if it's by the checkout area or customer service area or whatever, but their sign says, "No reasonable request will be refused." And so that's the general policy that we try to follow, which is if it's reasonable, if you messed up the account or something else happened and like we can fix it for you and it's no big deal, like, yeah, we'll do that. Um, so we always try and be as helpful as we can in those scenarios, in those situations. Um, and sometimes like I said, if you messed up the account, like, or if what I really meant was like, if our product wasn't clear enough and because of that, the account got jacked up for whatever reason, we can help with that. Bulk exports, it's a variety of things we can do. Um, what we typically don't do though, so we'll do that kind of stuff, but what we typically will not do is custom sort of adjustments to terms of service or security requirements or requests, because those are have deeper implications, and we can't, or we could, but we don't want to be in the business of maintaining potentially thousands of separate agreements with customers. So some companies will come to us and say, they'll say, hey, we want to use Basecamp. Basecamp's awesome, but like our legal team needs this written into your terms of service. Can you just add an amendment to that for us? And we just won't do that. And what we will do is listen to what the amendment is, and if it makes sense, we can add it to the terms of service for everybody. But we're not going to maintain thousands and go into legal reviews with potentially thousands of customers who want slightly different terms. So like that would be an unreasonable request in our point of view. But a reasonable request would be, hey, I put this person in the wrong place in 50 things. Like it's too much of a hassle to do it manually. Can you guys help me with this? Like, yeah, we can do that. So that's kind of where we draw the line. I mean, it's actually a very wide line, but and what we do is we have somebody. So Jim sort of is our first line of technical support, and he'll typically help with anything that we can like do in the console or sort of database basic query changes and some stuff like that. If he can't do it, it'll be sort of put up into on call, which is where one of our full-time programmers works. I mean, that's actually the wrong way to put it. Trying to figure out this is like tier 1 versus tier 2, tier 3 in traditional terms. When someone tier 1, I guess, would actually, what's the high? The tier 3 is higher than, I never know.
I don't
anyway,
know.
one of our app developers who might need to jump in and help with something more complicated,
right?
But that would go in the queue, and it would be put against everything else that we have to do on call as well. So it wouldn't be as necessarily an immediate thing to handle, but it's a possibility if we can get to it at that point.
Yeah.
So if Jim can handle it, almost always we take care of it. If Jim can't handle it, it goes up into a queue, and then it's considered along all the other work that we have to do on call.
Yeah, I feel like I agree, and it's pretty much how we handle things too. But given the size of our team, like Highrise went from being able to use your entire support staff to like always having a developer on call or whatever. Our ability to like do favors was like constricted really fast. And I feel like there's just a natural, I think people want to do a lot of stuff for their customers. It's like this natural, like I want to please everybody uses this tool. I mean, it's like I want everyone to be happy, but like we were, I think, suffering for a while from just too many distractions. Like, with our small team, like, I mean, we're still like, now we have another couple developers helping. We can get better at doing more favors, but there was a time there, as we're kind of growing into even learning and getting more stuff done, that it was just like, we kept getting favor requests and it was like killing us. So we had to kind of like, and it was hurting other customers who want like features and things built. We were getting distracted, like, okay, now I got to do a support request and do a delete. So we actually had to kind of go back a bit and be like, okay, let's try to put a hiatus on a lot of these favors. Like we can do a reasonable request, but we also have to kind of balance that with the needs of the many. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of why we sorry for the lighting.
That's cool.
It's kind of a weird time of day where light's shining in. Where excuse me. Before we had Jim, before we had someone who was more dedicated to that particular role, it was really a difficult thing to prioritize. Because what we found was that we had like our app developers who are building the software, being pulled off building the software to fix an individual customer's concern. And while that's obviously important to the individual customer, the realities of a business are you've got to weigh everything, right? So we can be improving the product to help 450,000 people in a certain way, and having Jim Smith, I'm picking names up, Jim Smith doing that development work, which will affect everybody and improve the product for everybody. Or we could have Jim Smith pulled off that and doing this for this one person. And it is just, I think people would understand how that's just a difficult trade to make over and over and over, which is one of the reasons Jim exists in that role is to handle some of the lower hanging fruit for stuff that support can't do because they're non-technical. but something that we don't need one of our app developers to be pulled off app development work. So there's that second tier, right?
Yep.
And it took us a while to get there. We sort of hesitated. We actually had a guy doing this a while back, years ago, a guy named Craig, who did like a support programming job. And then he left a few years later, and then we didn't have anyone for a while. And then Jim evolved into that role. Jim started out as just doing customer service, but has sort of a knack for some technical work. And so he learned how to get into doing some of this more technical stuff, which is great. So he sort of moved into that role. So now it works really well. Now it's like a good setup.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim's fantastic. But what's cool is that like it's a different role. And it's actually a very important role because it serves customers really well, people who actually need like favors from the company. But not at the expense of the rest of the company making progress for the rest of our customers. So it's a great role because it helps both sides. Yeah.
Yep.
We internally, this is a good show to talk about this because internally we had some we had some like cultural issues with the cultural conceptual issues with that role for a while, which was this before we had anyone in it, which was, do we want to set up a culture where we have two tiers of developers, basically? We have app developers, and then we have like a technical support developer. And for a long time, we resisted that. Maybe it was like a religious argument that we had, or we just felt there shouldn't be. I don't know. I don't remember all the small details, but I know we fought against that. Excuse me. But I don't think anyone would now look back on the decision. Now the sun's totally coming in here. Well, let's go over here. Work in progress, including lighting. I don't think anyone internally would ever look back on that decision and go, that was the wrong one. It was absolutely the right decision, but it just took us a while culturally to get around to the fact that we could have a technical person here whose ultimate ambition and skill level was not necessarily to become an app developer, but who was really someone who loved to work with people and help people, like more of a support person, but with technical chops. And of course, this is not a revelation for a lot of companies. A lot of companies have different tiers of developers and different tiers of customer service. But for us, it took us a while to get there, but I'm really glad that we did.
Yeah, right on. Cool, dude. So you want to call it and give your, let's ease into more shows.
My voice, a chance to recover here. Cool.
Cool. So yeah, let's call it. We'll talk tomorrow then if things are still holding up.
Yeah, I'm sure things will be better.
Cool.
Thanks,
See you guys, everyone, tomorrow. Please
thank you, everybody.
To our YouTube channel.
Please.
All right. Talk to you soon. Later.
Later on.